Is this TalkLinked?
On a Wednesday?
What? Well, that's exciting.
What is the meaning of this?
So, before we get into the Epic Game Store crisis, as I like to call it, I want to let you guys know that we're going on workation, LMG, Linus Media Group. So there will be no Techlinked on Friday, but then we'll be back on Monday. So it's okay. The Epic Game Store. It's disrupted the industry in a huge way. What a mess.
People are mad.
People are upset on both sides of the aisle, Democrat and Republican.
Even Ralph Nader's PO'd.
But it's a huge mess, so in order to understand it, we have to go back to the beginning.
Okay.
We have to go back, Marty. So in December, Epic Games launched the Epic Games Store, okay? And the big news when they launched it was that they had an 88 to 12% developer to store revenue share. So that's 88% to the developers of sales, 12% to the store.
Yep.
Okay? And that was a big deal because Valve takes 30% of sales.
From
Yes.
Steam.
From Steam.
The de facto monopoly player in this space.
Right, if you don't know, Steam, it's kind of a big deal. Yeah, it's the big monopoly. Yeah, you're right. So shortly after Epic announced that, Valve changed their revenue share to take 25% from games that make over $10 million and 20% from games that make over $50 million. So they were like, oh, we can change the revenue share, but you gotta make a ton of money.
It's a weird response because on the one hand, that's gonna cost Valve a lot of money from those whales, those big developers. So absolute value-wise, that's a lot of money. Going from 30 down to 25%, that 5% means a lot.
Right.
On the other hand, that did nothing to incentivize small to medium developers.
Exactly.
It really only affects the big players.
And it's important because while Epic's revenue split is apparently designed to help small developers, that situation where you have to sell 1 million copies of your game in order to make more money, in order to have a greater revenue share, it doesn't really help small developers at all. It only helps the big guys who are like, Ubisoft, which is gonna sell 1 million copies anyways.
And even for those big guys, it's still 8% higher rate than Epic is offering.
Yeah, it doesn't even get down there.
That's like significant. They
What are
only
you
got halfway there for some of the people.
Yeah. So initially, it seemed pretty good. The revenue share was cool. But then Epic Games Store started grabbing exclusive games. So they started with some indie games and stuff, but then they grabbed Metro Exodus, which was, the sequel to the Metro franchise, which is pretty popular.
So as I understand it, Metro was already listed on Steam. You could pre-order it.
Yes.
It was coming out just like 2 weeks hence.
That's very true.
And then, it's going to be only on Epic.
Yeah.
However, we will honor any pre-orders.
Yeah, they're gonna honor pre-orders, but it was still like a huge shock, right? Because you're like, wait, what? What? So then they grabbed Borderlands 3, and then they had Control, and this is like kind of in this ensuing months, they grabbed Control from Remedy Games. A lot of Ubisoft PC titles like the new Ghost Recon and Division 2 and stuff are on, they're an exclusive to the Epic Game Store, but you still have to install Uplay.
Right, yeah.
So
the Division 2 was also on Uplay.
Right.
Because it's Ubisoft's game. Makes sense.
So then, real quick, adding insult to injury, they also started grabbing even more games that had already been on other platforms. So like Rocket League, my favorite game, and they took that off Steam basically. Well, they bought the developer, Psyonix. So that's going to be only available to buy on Epic's Game Store. Right now it's still on Steam.
But it'll be an Epic original in a sense.
Yeah, sort of.
Because they own it.
And if you still own it on Steam, it'll still be there. But they grabbed that. And then they also bought games like The Outer Wilds that had crowdfunding commitments to Steam. Like Outer Wilds got crowdfunded on Indiegogo or whatever, and they said that it would launch on Steam, and then Epic bought it. So they're like, oh, just kidding, it won't be on Steam. So
see, from the developer's perspective, you're playing with fire. You're garnering negative sentiment from your own community, especially from a crowdfunding campaign where these are like the early adopters, these are the diehards, these people are really going out on a limb to help you. They're your real fans. To betray those people is not a good scene.
Exactly, and so this is where, things got a little ugly, where, people were getting upset about it. And they might be justified, but real quick, let's talk about why Epic would want to do this, okay? Because
why the exclusives angle?
Yeah, they came in here kind of disrupting the industry, but why? So here's the argument. Tim Sweeney, the CEO of Epic, says that exclusives are, quote, the only strategy that will change the 70-30 status quo of the game industry. So he kind of like presents this as they're doing a good thing. It's not so much that he's saying that the company is not coming in here trying to be like, oh, we want all the market share and all the users. We're doing this is social justice.
Well, he is saying that he wants to add competition to this marketplace. Right. He does say that. But yeah, his major spin, he's even gone so far as to say that if Steam were to change their prices to the same split that Epic has, that they would just close up shop and even list the Epic games on Steam.
That's true. And you have to wonder if he said that because he knows Valve isn't going to do that, or whether...
Yeah, I think it's all spin. The reason that they're doing the exclusives thing is just because it's a smart play from a network economics perspective. So instead of building an app that's feature rich, let's say it matches Steam feature for feature, you spend all the money developing that app, and then you try to give players a reason to go to it.
Right.
That's risky, right?
Yes.
They took the opposite approach. They made a minimally viable product. They made a store that's just a store. There's no carts, there's no reviews, there's no wish list. They didn't even have refunds.
They got nothing.
It's just bare bones, you can buy stuff. They started with that MVP, but critically, they give you a reason to actually go there. Fortnite, other titles, right? So you start with getting users to the platform, and then you build out the platform with the features that users will eventually want.
And that strategy, while it probably seems good to Tim Sweeney, is people are not happy about it, because then that means that they are forced to use a platform that they don't really want to use because it doesn't have all the stuff that Steam has.
A lot of creature comforts, especially if you're talking about a sequel like Borderlands, where you've played the first two games with all of the community aspects and social aspects that are built into Steam, and now if you want to play the third one, you can't carry over all those creature comforts that you're used to.
Exactly. So in terms of the features, you mentioned that Epic Games has way less features than Steam. Epic has released a roadmap for development. They have said, obviously, we're not just bringing in all these people and then just gonna make them use our crappy store. We want to make the store good. So they've released a roadmap. It's publicly viewable on Trello.
It's a live document. It's a Trello board.
Yep, and they're changing it as they go. But the problem is, as some people on Reddit have pointed out, they've already missed a bunch of deadlines. And this is the way the roadmaps go.
That's par for the course for software.
Yeah, exactly. They say that we're gonna have these many in 6 months, but they don't hit it. And that obviously is making people concerned. There have also been some concerns about data collection, because Chinese gaming giant company Tencent has a stake in the company. So people were kind of concerned that Tencent was stealing their data and stuff.
Well, so I think those concerns are valid, and those concerns are concerning. They're valid concerns, and they really kind of stink up the soup, but I think that those concerns will be minimized once the other concerns about the platform and the feature set are assuaged.
Right.
Once they deal with that, people won't care as much about this other thing. Right now, they're focusing on games that are destination games. Right. You will switch because you really want to play this game. And when they load up their library with games like that, the users that they gain on a per game basis is very large, right? And eventually they'll have so many users that a lot of developers will want to be on the platform. They'll have accrued enough finances that they'll be able to build all these new features, and they'll be able to afford to add new games to the library. Because right now, with the thing with Dark, you read about Unfold Games. Dark is an indie game, very popular, and they invited the developer and the game to be on Epic, and the developer said no.
Yeah, they refused.
And even though they offered him upfront money, they offered him guaranteed revenue. I don't know how that works, but
they just basically throw a ton of money at them, being even if you don't sell as many as you think you're going to sell or something, we're going to give you that money as if you had broke even. Yeah, and that's kind of the interesting thing, is that they're throwing so much money at developers in order to gain these exclusivity deals. But I think gamers, what they want, what they actually want is for the company to spend that money on the platform itself and get it to a point where it is competitive with Steam.
They will do that though.
Well, that's the promise, but it seems so far that they are, getting in all of these users and then just like keeping them there. Like they have a roadmap for development, I know, but like they're going super slow. They've been out since December. It's coming up on a year, and they haven't really added that much that is actually useful. I know that they've added some things on the back end, like the game tagging is better for like searching and stuff, but they still don't have a shopping cart.
A lot of it's gonna be invisible to you though. A lot of it is like localization, new currencies and stuff like that.
True.
You'll never see because they already have US dollars.
But that's not what gamers want.
Mm-hmm.
Gamers want electrolytes. They want the things that they can
achievements.
see. Yeah, achievements, friends list, communities, mods. They want all of these things. So it's hard to see. It's hard to. I think that what it really comes down to is not knowing what is going on in Epic's head. Like, are they evil or are they good? They have to be one. You have to pick one. Tim, be a good guy or a bad guy? Yeah. What does Epic do well? They have the revenue share. They have the 88-12 split in order to actually help indie developers. That's what they say is one of their main objectives.
More money that the developer can spend making the game better.
That's true.
Or they can actually pass it on to consumers, which actually happened with Metro Exodus. It's not really clear if it came from
That's true,
the
yeah,
game
yeah.
company or from EGS, but when it moved from Steam to the game store, it was cheaper.
It was $10 cheaper.
I think they did that because of the way it was right before launch. They didn't want people were mad, so
right.
Hey, at least it's $10 cheaper. So because the developer has all that much more percentage to deal with, they can actually just make the game a little cheaper and still be making more money.
Indeed. So they also have the influencer marketing program, which is kind of like iffy, I guess, but they are making it really easy for indie developers to reach out to influencers like Twitch streamers and say, hey, you want to play our game and we'll give you a bit of the cut or whatever. So they're helping them again in that way. And they also have pledged to support cross-play initiatives. So like with Rocket League and Fortnite and now PUBG, I think, just added it. That's not on Epic Game Store, but that kind of thing where you have people from different platforms playing together. Epic has said that that's important to them. So they are doing some good things.
There is a downside for indie developers too.
Indeed.
Whereas the exclusive model is really attractive if your game is a destination title like Metro Exodus, where people are gonna move platforms just to play that game. That's great. But if you're an indie developer and no one knows your game, it's better for you to be on multiple platforms.
Indeed.
It's better for you to be on Steam and on Epic because you just want as many people to see your game as possible.
And that really kind of like ties into the fact that Epic's games seems like they say that they're trying to help the market, but it really seems like they're trying to help themselves. It seems like they're gobbling up exclusives, gobbling up users, and then not really paying off with the rich feature experience. If we look at something like Discord, okay, Discord has a game store. They have a 90% revenue share. They give 90% of the revenue to developers. And what did they do? They had a interesting app that had cool features and everyone started using, and then they added a store to it.
They started with the features,
yeah,
then added the store.
Right. Now, the Discord store isn't amazing either. It doesn't have nearly as many features as Steam either, but Discord has a compelling reason to use it beyond the revenue share and the exclusives. So, I have Discord. Everyone who plays PC games basically uses Discord to chat now. So, if they have a store, they tack a store on there, you're like, oh, okay, that's fine.
It's a little more wholesome.
Yeah.
How can you be mad at that? You're already using Discord.
Exactly. But Epic Games come in there and be like, oh, this is we're doing a good thing for the people.
At least they have that going for them, though.
Yeah.
That's good for games.
They got Fortnite going for them.
If the conclusion of all of this is that Steam ends up giving more money to developers, and we have two platforms that are both very feature-rich,
that would be great. That would be great. I want to live in that world.
I mean, that depends on Epic fulfilling their promise to build out the features, which I'm sure they will. I mean, or they could just say like, nope, the experience sucks forever, and you just come here because you have no choice. Where are you gonna go?
I think they'll.
Where are you gonna go?
I mean,
can't leave.
I think everyone will hate them and want to leave, but they'll still have all the Fortnite money.
If it got so bad,
and that's the real problem.
If it got so bad, if sentiment was so bad, then a game developer wouldn't want to be an exclusive for them, regardless of the money. They'd be like,
that's true. That's true. We'll have to see whether they get to the point where their reputation is so tarnished.
Yeah. That a studio just doesn't even want to be associated with them.
Yeah.
Which is kind of what Unfold Games did with Dark. Said, I'm not gonna do that to my fans because Dark is already on Steam.
That's true.
I'm not gonna pull it and do that to my fans.
I can only hope that the discourse about the whole issue becomes slightly less toxic. But it's hard to see how that could happen when Epic isn't really taking large strides towards what they say they want, which is a feature-rich, alternative to Steam. So,
Sweeney, if you disagree with us, if you think you are taking large strides toward that, then come and sit in this chair.
Yeah.
You can talk to Riley.
Come on, TalkLinked.
You could be here. Hi, Riley. I'm Tim Sweeney.
I got something to say to you, Mr. Sweeney.
Hey, we're trying our best, Riley.
Well, okay. I have to believe you. Well, that was a TalkLinked episode, if you didn't know. It's on Techlinked is the channel, TalkLinked is the show. And we're gonna have more. We're not gonna be here on Friday. In case you watched all the way to the end, thank you so much. And that's the end.
Buy this merch.
Oh yeah.
It's for a different channel, but
we got hoodies, we got a t-shirt, we got a set. You can't buy the set.
Check out these plants.
Woo!
This isn't even real. Bet you didn't know that.
We don't have the money for it.
We don't have the time to water plants, but we might have that time if you just gave us more money.
I like how that's the intro.
We have a lot in common with Epic, actually.
Techlinked Game Store. See you later.